welcome. My name is Nicole and I am the founder of Am Moonli. I am a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and welcome to my channel. Alright, so essentially I recorded this video over a month ago, and then when I ran out of space because I was vlogging in Newcastle, I deleted a lot more videos than I should have, and I deleted 2 videos including this one. So we're recording it again, which actually isn't a terrible thing because I've had not the best past month, which most people throughout December is not the best month because you're enjoying food, enjoying your lifestyle, working out less, which is totally fair, but I thought I'd share a bit about my experience. So today we're going to talk about progesterone healing, progesterone deficiency, luteal phase deficiency, all of the things, and some of the nutritional steps that I have as a guide to start balancing out your progesterone, because I have been there and so many of the women that I work with have also been there. So let's get started. So essentially what we know about progesterone is created in that second half of our cycle between ovulation and our period. So at ovulation, when our egg bursts out of its follicle, that follicle actually collapses in on itself and becomes something called a corpus luteum. And that corpus luteum is actually what causes us to be able to create good quality progesterone. So what are some good signs of good quality progesterone? So when you're looking at your menstrual cycle specifically, you're looking at a 12 to 16 day luteal phase. You don't have spotting before your period. You don't have brown blood. Your periods aren't painful. They aren't heavy. They aren't clotty. And you also don't have PMS, because PMS is often associated with low progesterone. So those are some other things to look for. When I'm talking PMS, I'm talking about like headaches, migraines, bloating, mood swings, all before your period. Now, when we're looking at low progesterone, what are some of the things we're looking at? Like I just said, you should not be having painful periods. If you are having painful periods, heavy periods, PMS like mood swings, breast tenderness, bloating, you are spotting before your period, your luteal phase is shorter than 12 days, and you are also might be dealing with things like infertility, like early onset miscarriage if you are trying to conceive. These are all signs that there might be a progesterone deficiency. And so what we're going to talk about today is, now that we have the brief overview, what's a bit of my experience. So I definitely am your low progesterone type of girl, low progesterone, high estrogen dominant type of person. I have endometriosis and I did have fibroids. If I still have them, I have no symptoms of having them. So I might still have 4 fibroids. I might not. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Until they become an issue, I'm probably not going to get another pelvic like internal ultrasound. But essentially, having endometriosis, we are more likely to have low progesterone, where people who also have fibroids are more likely to have low progesterone. A lot of times, like endometriosis and PCOS get clunked in together. PCOS, oftentimes there is almost no progesterone because those people typically aren't getting to the point of ovulating, but they typically have to do with like high testosterone, and high or low estrogen can be associated as well. But with low progesterone, you know, I have endo, I have fibroids, even ovarian cysts can be associated with low progesterone. And in the long run, progesterone isn't only good for us like menstrual cycle wise, but it's also good for us for our bone health, our heart health, our brain health. Without it, it's actually pretty insane. And one of the factors that I love about progesterone is in the luteal phase, most of the time when people notice PMS, mood swings, progesterone is actually our calming hormone. As you start to balance out your progesterone levels, you'll notice that you actually feel more calm and more together during this part of your cycle than any other time. So if you are dealing with low progesterone, any type of those symptoms, and you want to look at these nutrition side, here are some of the top nutrition tips I have as a nutritionist, but also what has worked for me, because my periods used to be excruciating, heavy, clotting. PMS used to be horrible. I used to sweat so much in the night that my partner would think he peed the bed and he would wake up in a panic. But it was actually me just completely sweating because my estrogen was so high, my progesterone was so low. I would spot before my period. I would have blood clots before my period. I'm pretty sure my luteal phase was only like 9 days with 3 days of spotting. And my temperatures, my basal body temperatures were really, really low in my luteal phase. And these are all signs of low progesterone. And now I'm at a point where I have no spotting, barely any period cramps. I have endo, so I still get a little bit of cramps, but barely any period cramps, normal blood, no blood clots, no PMS, no nothing, and it has been so good. I will say this past month has not been great. I decided to give hummus a go with chickpeas, and it's not for me. Immediately my body reacted. I broke out in hives, had the worst yeast infection. It just was not for me. And lastly, before we jump into this, now that I just said yeast infection, progesterone is actually an anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial. So when we are creating progesterone in the body, it is actually there to help protect our vaginal microbiome. So if you are dealing with yeast infections, I might do another video on this. If you want another video, let me know down below, because progesterone is there to create a healthy vaginal microbiome. And now that I've started balancing out my hormones, I rarely ever have yeast infections until like last time when I had chickpeas, my body totally reacted. But before that, when I was in middle school, I would have chronic yeast infections for years. And now I'm at this point where they only come up if something happens, like I eat something I'm allergic to. All right, so what are my top tips for dealing with low progesterone? Number one, when it comes to low progesterone, we want healthy levels of estrogen. Whether or not you have low or high levels of estrogen, there are nutrients that are needed. So what are some of the nutrients you might want to look at? You want to look at zinc. Foods that are high in zinc are a lot of your things like lamb, beef, and oysters. Oysters are incredible. Vitamin A, E, D, and K. So these are all your fat-soluble vitamins, which basically means you need to be eating fats to actually absorb them. We know vitamin D comes from our sun, and if you have brown skin living in the northern hemisphere, you might be suffering from a vitamin D deficiency, or if you don't eat things that are high in calcium like pumpkin seeds or dairy, you could also be dealing with vitamin D deficiency. So making sure that you're getting out in the sun, protecting it where you need to be. I live in Australia, so I'm protecting my skin a little bit more than I would if I was in the United States still. But you want to start eating more fat. So salmon, tilapia, crab, nuts and seeds like macadamia, almonds, peanuts, anything with really, really good fats. Eat a lot of it. And the biggest thing to take away from this is when I'm talking about fats, I'm not talking about those things called PUFAs. So PUFAs are those vegetable type of fats, and in high amounts, they can actually cause inflammation in the body. So we want to stick to more of those whole fat like grass-fed tallow, grass-fed duck fat, coconut oil, olives, nuts and seeds, and salmon. And those are also going to help you absorb these crucial vitamin A, E, D, and K, which impacts our pituitary gland, which is the beginning part of our menstrual cycle. Other nutrients that can support estrogen and lowering that estrogen dominance or raising it so we can have better progesterone, better luteal phases are B12, B9, and iron. These all rely on each other, and oftentimes we're looking at that B9, especially if you've been dealing with something such as miscarriage. Oftentimes you'll find that your doctor will look at the B9 because there is a genetic mutation called the MTHFR gene mutation, which is quite common across the world. And essentially it means that our body struggles to deal with toxins and methylation throughout the body. And when it struggles to do that, sometimes it can also affect our iron absorption and our B12. However, if you don't really eat meat, you might have a B12 deficiency, which is going to affect these nutrients. If you have heavy periods, you might be losing too much blood due to iron. But I want to make clear that if you don't have painful periods but you have low iron levels, don't forget to look at your gut. Is there leaky gut? Could you have bacterial overgrowth like candida? Because those can impact your gut as well, and there's great ways of naturally getting rid of candida in like less than 60 days that I work with my clients on. And then lastly, selenium is a great one as well. Some of the highest sources of selenium are going to be things like eggs, which is also high in fats, and this is just crucial to all fertility. Zinc and selenium are probably the biggest ones that play into fertility, and B9, but all of these nutrients are going to help tremendously. Next, make sure that you're eating enough calories. So I know there's an idea we should only be eating 1,200 calories a day, but guess what? You should actually be eating anywhere from about 2,000 calories. The average adult female needs 2,000 calories to maintain weight. Even in postpartum, especially if you're breastfeeding, they recommend 2,700 calories at the minimum. So make sure that you're eating quality carb, protein, and fat every meal. And then snacking, every 3 to 4 hours can be incredibly helpful for people. And that's also going to help support your energy levels, your liver and gallbladder, which when we eat that food, our body's getting energy and nutrients, but that energy also helps our liver and gallbladder, which helps us detoxify excess estrogen throughout the body. If there's too much estrogen in the body, progesterone is likely going to be low and suppressed. So we want to make sure we're getting estrogen on the body and eating enough calories to fuel our body to do what it needs to do. Limit HIIT workouts. So HIIT workouts are great, I get it, but if you are naturally a stressed person, lots of HIIT workouts can actually make your estrogen levels worse and your cortisol, which would come from your adrenals, worse as well. So try to do a mixture between HIIT, yoga, walking, swimming, any of those other type of workouts that slowly raise your heart rate and bring it down slowly are more ideal than doing constant HIIT, because some people might notice they see magnificent results in their body, but they start to have more hormonal issues, or even their period goes missing. So keep that in mind. And like I said, if you already have high stress levels, you're going to be producing something called cortisol and adrenaline, which come from our adrenals sitting above our kidney glands. And so the best way to start figuring out where your stress comes from is to sit down and really think about it. Do you find that you're stressed from past trauma? Are you stressed about your current life situation, relationships, work? What is the source of your stress? Or are you finding that your body is stressed but your mind isn't? Or your body's so stressed it's making your mind race and you don't even know why? Could be a deficiency, could be because you're eating a lot of refined sugars and carbs that are causing inflammation to your body, and that can contribute to high cortisol levels. So locating that stress and reducing it. And then lastly, my biggest tip that has worked for me is charting your cycle. So you heard me earlier talk about my luteal phase and dealing with my progesterone. The shorter your luteal phase is, or the lower your basal body temperature is, or if you have a lot of estrogen like cervical mucus in your luteal phase, I know this is confusing, but if you have these things, that is all a sign of low progesterone. And so I highly recommend learning how to properly chart your cycle. Great places to start: reading the book Taking Charge of Your Fertility or Sensiplan. However, it is recommended to work with a practitioner. I am actually currently getting ready to finish my certification, but I do offer in my course, one of my closest friends who is a FEM instructor actually includes her charting course. So if you are looking to balance out your progesterone, balance out your estrogen levels, and learn how to chart your cycle so you can figure out what is going on and actually seeing those improvements as you start to make those nutritional changes, my course, Blooming Body Blueprint, would be perfect. And if you have any questions at all, please message me, comment below, and I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you. All right, so I hope these tips have been helpful. If anyone has any questions, let me know. You can feel free to email me at moonlywoman@gmail.com. You can follow me at Instagram at Am Moonli, whatever works best for you. And yeah, thanks so much for being here, and I hope you all have a good one. Thanks, bye.